Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're going to talk about model context protocol. To start with, what if your AI agent could read logs, call APIs, and use tools just like microservices? The securely traceability, and on your own terms. That's what model context protocol or MCP designed to solve. So that many organizations struggle with what data silos and one of our connectors. Every new system like databases, CRM files, API typically needs a custom integrations. This is a time consuming and costly to develop, maintain, and securely accessing the information. As Anthropic noted before, MCP developers faced this problem. And to solve this, there is an n multiplied by m problem. So if you learned data structures, you might have known what is n m a problem is. So if not, each of our n AI tools and m data sources needs its own bridges. Such fragmentation limits innovation and even violates a lot of a customer obsession model, which is to serve users without a seamless and data access. So which also brings building a many bespoke connectors, consumers, budgets, and developer time. So which leads to operational complexity, such as integrations, testing, monitoring, and updating your services. Without a consistent framework, handling these built-in connectors can miss permission checks, which keeps you towards a security risk. So what is a MCP before we address how it works? So think MCP is like a secure agent runtime. It defines a tools, resources, and a prompts. So when we talk about the tools has an actions that the agent can trigger, like calling in APIs. Resources like an contextually read-only data, such as reading from our logs, some config files, and even you can do a data, but you might have a CRUD operations over a data. So prompts like templates that shape how the agent reasons your system. So tools are like a post calls, maybe if you want to simplify it, resources are like get calls, and prompts are like controller logic. So that gives you simplified scenario. Now let's address how it works. The MCP solves this challenge by defining a single open standard for AI data connectivity. Think like an USB-C for your device or the computer, which is similar for AI. So USB is a single standard for your AI. So with a MCP, you can build a generic server for each data source, and they can act and work as an AI application that speaks MCP can use it. This dramatically simplifies integration, and some of the key points for MCP are open standard and vendor neutral. So this is a one critical area which architects always looks at it. MCP is open source, as I called out, and vendor agnostics. It lets you switch AI models or providers at will. In fact, Anthropic noted MCP gives you a flexibility to switch between your LLM providers and vendors, technically putting you avoiding lock-in. The system is by default, it's built-in security for design, right? So as a consistent and permission controls can ensure only authorized access to your data, which aligns to one of my leadership principles, which I call it as an insist on the highest standard of a security. two-way communication is an AI application can query data and invoke actions on MCP servers. MCP enables secure two-way communication between AI models and data sources, and which provides a universal interface for reading your files such as the logs and executing your functions and handling contextual prompts. So models can actually use data and services. MCP is already supported by a major players like Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, and as Anthropic and the community provider pre-built MCP server for common enterprise systems like G Drive, Slack, GitHub, database, you name it, CRM, all the stuff. So teams can start pretty fast. So as we said, MCP is a standard that acts like an API gateway for AI agents. Now let's talk about our architectural of our MCP. Like MCP uses a micro service pattern, which is it has an host. AI applications environment such as chat UI, IDE, and you can build a custom apps. And in the client, in the host, these connectors serves as an connecting to a servers, one client per server. You can do that, right? And independently serves when you deploy each perhaps as a specific data source or tools. And the data source or the actual integration points or files which you're connecting to databases, APIs from an MCP server. So as I said, client and server communicate using the JSON RPC, the protocol between your host, client, and servers use the JSON RPC, which is a similar transport layer, which you have seen that on your APIs, which is a JSON payload, but rather you're doing it in a HTTPS or HTTP, you're going through an RPC format. Right? So MCP servers act as an intermediaries to your data. Once the server is built, any MCP client can use it. So solving n times M problem on custom bridges in practice, we can set it up as infrastructure team builds and maintains MCP server, which is like a data connectors, which you might have seen that in other frameworks building in connectors. Right? So moving towards our well-architecture framework, and we can talk about some certain business metrics here as we can align MCP deployment with an well-architecture principles. So the first one is always false for me is an performance efficiency, which can measure data fetch latencies and throughput per request per second, which aims for your responsive AI interactions. Monitoring uptime and error rates of all MCP servers, built redundancy and automated recovery to insist your higher availability. So we can track audit logs, permission grants, and compliance checks. This ensures encryption and fine-grained access controls are enforced for your security organization. Right. And business metrics is counted towards connected data sources, AI-driven task executed, and user satisfaction. So this all shows how much MCP can deliver, resulting for your internal or external customers. So this also, you can calculate a development time saved and infrastructure usage. Technically, you can reusing your open source connectors significantly reduce the cost of your ownership. We also monitor, we can also monitor towards your cloud cost per query. So using your KubeCost platform, which you can deploy over Kubernetes. So all these action items drive towards your operational excellence, which also can you can deploy your uh, you can track your deployment frequencies, and which also you can calculate your mean time to recovery, and you can maintain your good documentation for alerting to keep your operation smooth. So to conclude, MCP is missing a link between your APIs and your AI agents. So if you're an API guy, think like more like an OAuth plus API gateway plus your prompt router for your AI, right? So by adopting MCP, we can deliver results such as AI tools that truly understand and act on your data. If you're familiar with your AI assistant, you can drive safely access any systems in your organization. What new problem you could solve. All right. And meanwhile, please subscribe to Dev and Dev, and we're going to talk about a new session, new recording.